What is currently happening, programs? Welcome to the Grid VR, where I'll be bringing you this week's news in virtual reality. It's Sunday the 8th of September 2017, and all I can say this week is, fuck, there's a lot to talk about. We've got fucking heaps of shit and much more. Today I'm going to cover off the main events to keep you in the loop. So stay locked, crush that like button, enjoy, and welcome to the Grid VR. Samsung. They make mobile phones. Those mobile phones work in the Gear VR thanks to the partnership with Oculus. Those mobile phones also work in Google's Daydream headsets, which is a direct competitor with the Gear VR, whose software is provided by Oculus. So Samsung is a bit promiscuous. The Oculus Rift. It's a VR headset. And now Samsung is releasing a Microsoft Windows MR headset that is in direct competition with the Oculus Rift. So, Samsung is a slut.
Sluts everywhere. It's gonna rule.
And why do we love sluts? In the corporate sense, I mean. Because they motivate. They drive competition and keep big business on their toes and force their hands in bringing us new, updated hardware and software constantly at a competitive price. So, cheers to you, Samsung, you big corporate whore, you. The Samsung Odyssey has been announced this week and will have a higher resolution than a Rift, Vive, or the other MR headsets, weighing in at 1440 by 1600 per eye, where the MR headsets have a lower 1440 by 1440 per eye, and the Rift and Vive are lower still, 1080 by 1200 per eye. Unlike the other MR headsets, which use LCD screens, the Odyssey will feature dual AMOLED screens with up to a 90Hz refresh rate, hardware IPD and volume adjustment, and a 110-degree diagonal field of view, just like the Rift and Vive. And that field of view tops the other MR headset entries, which have a lower, up to 105-degree diagonal field of view. The Odyssey will sport the same front-mounted passive 2D cameras as the other MR headsets for 6 degrees of freedom inside-out tracking, and will include custom Samsung MR controllers, built-in AKG headphones, and a dual mic array, which is unique to this headset. So it's a tidy package, to be fair. Tracking-wise, most reports have said so far that Microsoft have nailed it in making it good enough for certain games and experiences. Although it has been mentioned that unlike a Rift or Vive, these MR headsets don't track in darkness due to the camera-based inside-out tracking. Whether that's an issue or not depends on how important those midnight power wank gaming sessions are. There's also been some development on the software front affecting all of these MR headsets. Steam VR support has been confirmed to be a thing this holiday season, though Rift and Vive users won't be able to enjoy MR content from the Microsoft Store without a hack of some sort. As for pricing and release dates, well, with controllers, the Acer and Lenovo units are $400, the Dell and HP units are $450, and the Samsung Odyssey is priced the same as an Oculus Rift at $500, though it will release in November instead of October like the other MR headsets. The remaining Asus unit will be out early next year at €449, which is roughly $535, and the Vive tops this pricing list at $600. To me, if you're already sold on an MR unit, then in my opinion, you'd be fucking crazy not to snap up the Samsung unit for an extra $50 to $100 and get that extra resolution, field of view, headphone, dual mic, and hardware built-in goodness. Versus a Rift or Vive, well, for programs like me who will take the extra minute to plug in 2 or 3 sensors and run a couple of cables along the walls to get that 99.99% tracking in any light for a more accurate and reliable experience where good enough doesn't cut shit, especially playing games like Pavlov, Robo Recall, or Echo Arena, a Rift or Vive is still the winner to me. On the other hand, if your focus is portability or less taxing social and media experiences, or if slightly better resolution is more important to you than tracking, then the Samsung Odyssey would most definitely be a very solid contender at the very least versus a Rift or Vive. And it could be perfect for gifting to less tech-savvy friends or family members to get them into VR. Whatever you decide, it's exciting times, and I'll see you in the grid, program. Now let's talk Microsoft games. They do some decent games, right? Well, yeah, they did a few, with their biggest titles being these fellas, but past rights don't discount future wrongs, and it's looking like the big MS just went and fucked up Halo VR by making it a gallery shooter. I mean, look at it. Actually, just stare at this neon peanut while I talk about Halo VR. Apparently a gallery shooter where you stand in a VR room and a flat screen pops up with floating targets that look like enemies from the Halo universe, and you shoot them from a standstill. Yeah, God, I hope I'm wrong about this one, and I'd love to hang shit all day on this floating piece of pixel raping perversion, but
that's all I have to say about that.
Moving out of the Microsoft world and into the software done right modding world, a program called Rorin has modded the source code of the original Half-Life VR mod created by Max Vollmer. And then another program called Mr. So-and-so has updated that updated mod to improve that experience with the Rift. Fuck yeah. The new Half-Life VR mod has better scaling and movement options, including free locomotion, and is ridiculously good. I'll have a tutorial up next week covering the full install process, including the game's DLCs, troubleshooting, and workarounds for both Rift and Vive users. But in the meantime, you can check the link in the description for instructions on how to get this working right now. Please note though, at this stage, only play this in single player. Playing it in multiplayer on a Steam VAC-SECURED server could result in a VAC ban due to one of the mod files. Let me say that again. Only play this in single player, or on a non-VAC-SECURED server if you must play it in multiplayer. Aside from that, if you are any type of VR gamer whatsoever, then get on down to Black Mesa and unfuck you some gigantic interdimensional catastrophe. Also, I'd like to thank Sweviver for pointing this one out, and Rorin, Mr. So-and-so, and of course Max Vollmer for all the hard work getting this mod happening. All legends, and links are in the description so you can internet stalk them all. Nah, a sub, like, or comment will likely cover it. And briefly, Raw Data has left early access with a shit ton of performance improvements, a 1v1 PvP mode, and improved visuals. What is Raw Data, you may ask? Well, it's a first-person wave shooter with interactive elements, a narrative campaign, and edgy 80s neon glitz, where you play as one of 4 unique hackers raining lead lights down on a plethora of enemies using bows, swords, turrets, guns, and shields. And you can check the link in the description if any of this tickles your neon ballroom. Dead Effect 2 has also left early access this week in less than 4 months since its initial June release this year. There's new weapons, new ways to bash enemies with weapons, new ways to reload weapons, hold weapons, weapon bug fixes, weapon rebalancing, weapon penetration, weapon cocking, and bug fixes. Did I mention this was a shooter? Skyworld, the tabletop, real-time turn-based strategy game from Wolfdog Interactive and Vertigo Games, who contributed to the development of Arizona Sunshine, has a beta date and a release date for the full game as of this week. The closed beta is being held right now, and even though it finishes today, if you have a Rift or Vive, you can still check the link in the description below to register. Pre-orders for the full game are up, and that includes a 25% discount as well as exclusive pre-order masks. And the title covers all the PC VR bases by releasing on the Rift, Vive, and Windows MR on October 17th for $40. Also in strategy games, Brass Tactics has been delayed until early 2018. And while I'm not a fan of delays, you can bet that this is for the best. Brass Tactics looks good, and that's fine, but with strategy games, depth, variety, and balance are all paramount for the game to succeed. And that shit takes time. So if a delay brings all that to the VR tabletop, then so be it. Plus, they'll be dodging the onslaught of massive hardware and software releases coming up in the next couple of months, including Skyworld, so not bad timing either way. While Microsoft's own VR gaming movements are dubious, their powers of procurement are seemingly on point. At Microsoft's mixed reality event in San Francisco on Tuesday, both AltSpace and Microsoft confirmed that Microsoft is now the proud owner of AltSpace VR. So if you were wondering what kind of social apps Microsoft's new mixed reality platform was going to have, well, this definitely seems like the answer right there. This could be a huge move for the AltSpace brand, as it means integration into the massive mixed reality push by Microsoft. And AltSpace could be the first decent pre-installed app I've seen in the start menu. Selfish whims aside, congratulations to the AltSpace members that survived the transition. Also, my other favourite social VR app, Big Screen, has seen a couple of big updates the past couple of weeks following the cinema update back in August. The Avatar update added further customization to avatars, including torsos and hundreds of customizable tops, and the new update brings 4 new daytime environments, as well as improvements to performance and the way you interact with and customize your experience. If you haven't tried Big Screen yet and you have a social streak, then load in and try out this free VR godsend. Square Enix will be releasing Project Hikari next year, which is a page-turning VR version of the popular romantic comedy adventure manga Tale of Wedding Rings. And on first glance, it looks like the team have taken some great-looking manga art and made it better by reducing it to some PlayStation 2 cel-shaded 3D graphics. Look, it could be cool, but when I think manga in VR, I think manga in VR. Not this. Either way, early next year is the release date for this one. A new version of Google's Daydream View has been announced this week at Made by Google. The unit will support a range of Daydream compatible phones, is sexy in fabric, has a new controller, a wider field of view, and will be $20 more than the previous version, landing this one at $99. No ETA yet, but it's up on Verizon and Best Buy for pre-order, so if you have one of those phones and like your 60Hz VR order to go, then check the link in the description below. HTC have announced a Fallout 4 Vive bundle this week, where anyone purchasing a Vive after October the 2nd will get a Steam key for a free copy of Fallout 4 VR, which hits the digital shelves on December the 12th. Programs who bought a Vive prior to October the 2nd won't miss out either, and will be given a free 3-month subscription to Viveport, which gains them unlimited access to 5 titles a month for that month from the Viveport portal. Not bad. And finally, Oculus Connect is on next week, so expect some new hardware and software announcements, and John Carmack to do some Carmacking. And that's this week on the Grid VR. If you have more you would like to add, then hit me up in the comments below and let's discuss. And if you like this video, then crush that like button, hit the EXO logo to subscribe if you wanna, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!